What if the life you are living is not the life you were given, but the life you have been mentally rehearsing? What if the chains around your progress are not made of poverty, rejection, bad luck, or the past, but of one silent sentence you have repeated so often that your mind now treats it as truth? This is just who I am? That thought is more dangerous than failure because failure can be reversed, but a false identity can rule a lifetime. The mind does not care whether a thought is noble or destructive. It accepts what is repeated with feeling, and then it goes to work building your behavior around it. A man who tells himself he is unlucky begins to expect closed doors. A woman who secretly believes she is unworthy starts shrinking in rooms where she should shine. Most people are not crushed by circumstances first. They are conquered by interpretation. They live under the command of an inner narrator that turns every delay into doom, every mistake into proof, every setback into identity. Change that voice, and your entire posture toward life begins to change. Change your posture, and your decisions change. Change your decisions, and the world that once looked fixed begins to move. The great tragedy of life is not that people dream too big. It is that they think too small for too long and then call that realism. They inherit opinions from frightened people, absorb limitations from bitter people, and carry wounds from old experiences until those wounds become commandments. Then they say, I am just being practical. No, they are being programmed. The story in your head is not a harmless whisper. It is an order. It tells your body how to feel, your eyes what to notice, your courage when to disappear, and your hands whether to build or hesitate. If the story says, I always fail, then effort becomes heavy. If the story says, nothing ever works for me, then opportunity can stand in front of you wearing gold and still be mistaken for trouble. If the story says, people like me never get ahead, then you will betray your own chances before the world even tests you. Understand this clearly. The subconscious mind is always listening. It does not argue. It does not debate. It obeys. Whatever you impress upon it repeatedly, especially with emotion, it accepts as instruction. That is why some people seem to recreate the same disappointment in different forms. The names change. The locations change. The years pass. Yet the pattern remains. Why? Because the outer experience is often the echo of the inner script. The mind seeks harmony between what it believes and what it allows. It will reject success if success feels unfamiliar. It will cling to struggle if struggle feels like identity. This is why the first victory is not in the marketplace, the relationship, or the bank account. The first victory is in the unseen chamber of thought. You must become watchful. You must catch the sentence that has been ruling your life. Listen carefully to what you say when you are tired, angry, afraid, or disappointed. That is where the real story hides. Do you say, I am always behind? Do you say, no one sees my value? Do you say, it is too late for me? These are not descriptions. These are commands. And every command repeated with belief becomes a mold into which your life is poured. The moment you recognize the old story, you must challenge it with force. Do not negotiate with a lie that has been stealing your future. If your mind says you are not capable, answer with proof of every hardship you have already survived. If it says you are too broken, answer with the truth that broken ground is often where the strongest roots grow. If it says you missed your chance, answer with the knowledge that chance is often created by decision, not discovered by luck. The human mind can be retrained, but it must be retrained intentionally. Drift will keep you weak. Decision will make you dangerous to every limitation that once controlled you. Then write the new story, not a fantasy, not empty praise, a deliberate identity. Say, I am becoming disciplined. Say, I am worthy of success because I am willing to grow into it. Say, I think clearly, act boldly, and persist until results appear. Say, my past has instructed me, but it no longer defines me. When you say these words, do not whisper them like a person begging for permission. Declare them like a person taking back territory. The subconscious responds most strongly to repetition backed by emotion. Speak the new story in the morning before the world confuses you. Speak it at night before sleep plants the final impression. Speak it when fear rises. Speak it until the strange becomes familiar and the familiar becomes identity. But words alone are not enough. The new story must be proven through action. If you say you are confident, then make the call. If you say you are disciplined, then keep the promise. If you say you are building a new life, then stop feeding the old one. Action is how belief hardens. Every brave act is a vote for the person you are becoming. Every delayed act is a vote for the story you claim to hate. The world begins to shift when you do, because action changes energy. Energy changes presence, and presence changes response. People feel when someone has stopped apologizing for their existence. You will notice something remarkable when the inner script changes. Problems that once looked permanent begin to look solvable. Rejection stops feeling like a verdict and starts feeling like direction. Delay stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like preparation. You walk differently. You speak with more certainty. You choose better company. You waste less time trying to prove your worth to people who cannot see it. Your standards rise because your identity rises. And with that rise, life answers in ways that once seemed impossible. What if the life you are living right now is simply a physical printout of the conversation happening inside your mind? Most people spend years trying to fix the outside, changing jobs, changing cities, changing relationships, but they never touch the source. The source is always internal. The story you carry inside your head is not passive. It is not background noise. It is an active force that shapes how you see opportunity, how you respond to rejection, how much risk you are willing to take, and how long you are willing to persist before you give up. Think about this carefully. Two people can face the exact same situation. One sees possibility, and the other sees proof that life is unfair. The difference is not intelligence. The difference is not talent. The difference is the internal narrative each person brings to that moment. One person's story says, "There is always a way," and the other person's story says, "Things never work out for me." Both minds then go to work finding evidence to support their story, and both lives are shaped accordingly. Your inner story controls your confidence. When you believe you are capable, you walk into rooms differently. You speak with more certainty, you take initiative, you tolerate discomfort because your story says the reward is coming. But when your inner story says you are behind, unlucky, unworthy, or too late, your body receives that message and begins operating from a place of contraction. You hesitate where you should act. You apologize where you should assert. You retreat where you should advance. The inner story also controls what you notice in the world around you. Scientists call this the reticular activating system, a mental filter that highlights what aligns with your dominant beliefs. If your story says opportunities are rare, your mind filters them out even when they appear. If your story says people cannot be trusted, your mind will find evidence of betrayal everywhere. You do not see the world as you see the world as your story prepares you to see it. This means the outer life is always, in some fundamental way, a reflection of the inner narrative. Changing your outer life without changing your inner story is like painting over rust. The decay continues beneath the surface. But when you address the story, when you rewrite the internal script with intention and emotion, the outer world has no choice but to reorganize around the new identity you are building. The subconscious mind is perhaps the most powerful and most misunderstood force in human life. It does not think in the way the conscious mind thinks. It does not analyze, debate, or judge. It simply accepts and obeys. And the primary language it responds to is repetition combined with emotion. Whatever thought you repeat consistently, especially when that thought is charged with strong feeling, becomes accepted by the subconscious as reality. Once accepted, it becomes a program, running silently beneath your awareness and directing your behavior automatically. Everything shifts because you shift first. The mind is the blueprint, and the visible life is the construction. Rewrite the blueprint, and the building cannot remain the same forever. You are not condemned to keep living inside a mental script written by fear, failure, or someone else's opinion. You can take the pen back. You can choose a higher thought, repeat it until it gains authority, and live from it until reality has no choice but to catch up. The story in your head has been shaping your world all along. Make sure the next chapter is written by purpose, faith, courage, and decision. When you reprogram the story in your head, you do more than change your thoughts, you change your identity, your actions, your standards, and eventually your results. A stronger inner narrative creates a stronger outer life. The moment you stop repeating defeat and start rehearsing power, growth, and purpose, everything begins to shift in your favor. Good luck on your journey of rewriting your inner story. Thank you for being here, and may your next chapter be your most powerful one yet. What if the biggest thing holding you back is not your past, not your problems, not your lack of money, but the story you keep repeating in your own mind? What if every time you say, "I'm not ready, I'm not good enough," or "people like me never win," you are giving your subconscious a command to stay small? Most people think life happens to them, but the truth is, life often responds to the identity they rehearse every day. Change the story, and you change the decisions. Change the decisions, and you change the direction. The mind believes what you repeat with emotion, and then it builds your habits around that belief. So if you've been telling yourself a weak story, today is the day to interrupt it. Speak a new truth. Walk like it matters. Act like it's already forming. Because the moment your inner voice changes, your entire life begins to shift.